Oh, hello there! I'm Professor Joel from PlanetScooby.com. And this is my weekly review of a Scooby-Doo episode. And this week's episode is To Switch a Witch. Now, this is the 4th episode of Season 3 of Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? Or originally the Scooby-Doo Show. It's complicated. If you want to know more, visit PlanetScooby.com. We explain it all there. Now, this episode originally aired on September 30th, 1978, about a month before Halloween, and this episode takes place on Halloween in Salem, which is a town in America known for their witchcraft trials. If you'd like to own this episode on DVD, I can't recommend this Mystery Machine box set enough. Look at this. This is so awesome. It comes in this little Mystery Machine shaped box, and you have the DVDs inside. So you get this nice little case of DVDs. There's 41 episodes on here. Original episodes on 8 DVDs. It's over 15 hours of episodes. And it's got the cutest little DVDs. Nice animation on them. It's very affordable. Runs about $30 to $40. There's also a Blu-ray version coming out on September 13th. Scooby-Doo's birthday. 50th anniversary birthday, I might add. If you'd like that, buy that instead. I'll leave a link below for both. But I recommend this one just because it's probably going to be half the cost of the Blu-ray edition. And I just like the packaging of this so much. It's awesome. It looks amazing on a shelf. It's perfect for any Scooby-Doo fan. It's great. If you don't have it, get it. Anyway, on to the episode. As always, my reviews contain spoilers. So if you haven't watched this episode yet, watch it before watching mine. All right? Let's go. A man can be seen digging a grave in a cemetery during a lightning storm. Pausing at the lightning, he proclaims, "A storm be bad luck on Halloween."
A storm be bad luck on Halloween.
Indeed, Mr. Gravedigger, it is. Being out and about with a metal shovel in an open field during a lightning storm is never a good idea. We then cut to a tombstone that reads Melissa Wilcox, Witch, followed by an evil cackling. A witch then poofs into view, mocking the gravedigger from behind the tombstone.
Revenge!
Come on!
The gravedigger finally hightails it out of the cemetery, proclaiming, "She's back! She's back!" The man runs all the way to the house of Squire Marley. When Squire opens the door, the graveyard caretaker exclaims, "She's risen from her grave on Halloween night, just like she swore she would do when they buried her at the stake 200 years ago."
I deserve this job. I earned it.
Meanwhile, in the Mystery Machine, the gang are headed their way to Salem to visit their friend Arlene Wilcox. She's just inherited her family house.
It was something about Salem and the old family home she just inherited.
Velma is also slightly worried as while on the phone with Arlene, the phone went dead just before Arlene had something important to say. Shaggy and Scooby, unaware of Salem's historical relevance, are more keen on trick-or-treating as it's Halloween. A stern Freddy tells Shaggy and Scooby that first they must help Arlene, and then they'll all go trick-or-treating together. Back at the cemetery, Squire Marley sees the witch firsthand and tells the caretaker, whose name we find out is Gar Mooney, to round up the town selectmen for an emergency meeting. Freddy drives into the Wilcox driveway and Daphne exclaims, "Jeepers, what a spooky place!"
Jeepers, what a spooky place!
What I find more scary is Freddy's driving. Who really needs to drive that fast while they go down a driveway? Like, look at him. He goes on 2 wheels at a couple points. This isn't the Fast and Furious franchise, Freddy. Slow down. They spot Squire Marley hammering a sign on a tree within Arlene's driveway. Squire tells them to go back, as Arlene has been possessed by a witch.
She's been possessed by the witch of Salem.
You're going to Camp Blood, ain't you? You'll never come back again.
Oh, shut up, Ralph.
However, Freddy insists on seeing their friend. Driving away, Squire proclaims that they will be struck down by the witch.
You fools! You'll be struck down by the witch!
You're doomed if you stay here. This place is cursed. Cursed. I got to warn you. You're doomed if you stay. Go. Go.
Entering Arlene's house, the gang find a normal young girl terrified by the town around her. Squire Marley had just confronted her, saying that she looked just like the Witch of Salem, and she is now possessed due to Arlene being a direct descendant of Melissa Wilcox.
And it's said the witch will seek her revenge tonight.
The gang go to their rooms to relax. To pass time, Shaggy and Scooby get dressed for Halloween. Shaggy is dressed as a peasant, and Scooby is coincidentally dressed as a witch, and sort of looks similar to Melissa Wilcox. It doesn't take long for the two to bump into the real thing. Freddy and the girls hear a ruckus and run to Shaggy and Scooby's aid. The witch has vanished, but Shaggy verifies that she does look like Arlene.
So it's true. There is a witch who looks like me.
Velma, in the meantime, finds some strange liquid that is dissolving the carpet where the witch had stood. Freddy announces this as clue number 1. Shaggy looks out the window and spots the witch heading for the graveyard. The entire gang, minus Arlene, chase after the witch. At the graveyard, they see the witch disappear into a puff of green smoke. Behind the grave, Velma finds clue number 2, a hot piece of wire.
I found something. A piece of wire? And it's hot.
Drop it like it's hot. Drop it like it's hot. Drop it like it's hot.
Freddy investigates a symbol on the tombstone, and the cemetery caretaker, who just appears out of nowhere, surprising the heck out of Shaggy and Scooby. Well, the caretaker, he explains that it's the mark of Mormo, the witch's sign.
It's the mark of Mormo, a witch's sign.
Some folks have a strange idea, entertainment.
Beware, the witch has risen from her grave. Leave old Salem while you can.
Fun fact, the symbol is called the Leviathan Cross, and it's a symbol for sulfur, or more suiting, brimstone. The gang then head off to the Salem Witchcraft Museum to do some old-fashioned detective work and look through some old records. There they find the Wilcox family tree where Arlene's name is scratched out and replaced by the word Gemini. They also discover that the symbol of Mormo is intended to stop a witch rising from the grave. That's why it was on the tombstone, and it was also on the sign that Squire was putting on a tree. Splitting up, Shaggy and Scooby decide to go trick-or-treating while Freddy, Daphne, and Velma go back to Arlene's house. Before they arrive at Arlene's house, Gar the caretaker knocks on Arlene's door and tells her to run as Squire Marley and his angry mob are on their way to capture her. Terrified, Arlene runs out of the house and into the evening night. While trick-or-treating, Scooby and Shaggy run into Arlene, who is being chased by the angry mob. Arlene makes her escape, however Scooby is mistaken for a witch that has turned herself into a dog and is taken by Squire Marley and his posse to the Witchcraft Museum. There they sit Scooby in a dunking stool, which is this 200-year-old kind of torture device that repeatedly submerges you in water in a big barrel until you confess that you're a witch. This was a real thing, kids. Back at the house, Freddy and the girls find it empty with the front door wide open. So they head to the graveyard instead, where they find Arlene, and she explains that she's hiding out there after being warned by Gar the caretaker that the mob was headed towards her house. Shaggy escapes the Witchcraft Museum and runs to the graveyard, where he explains that Scooby's in trouble. The gang head back to the museum and rescue poor Scooby, but not after being chased by the mob. Fed up, the gang decide to end this, and they set a trap in the cemetery by digging a hole and camouflaging it for the witch to fall in. While the trap doesn't go smoothly, they do eventually end up catching the witch. Squire Marley arrives just in time for the gang to reveal what's really going on. The witch is actually Arlene's sister.
Twin sisters?
Twin sisters?
Whom Arlene never even knew about. All this time, the sister wanted to scare Arlene out of her house because she wanted to claim Arlene's inheritance and estate. Freddy explains that Gar Mooney was assisting the sister, and the wire they found behind the grave was to make the witch glow green. The liquid they found on the carpet was battery acid from the battery that powered the glowing effect. Squire Marley apologizes to the gang and escorts the twin sister and Gar off to jail. This episode is awesome. Not only does it take place on Halloween, but it takes place in an American town known for its historical relevance for witches. A few years ago, I visited Salem for Halloween, and this episode does a great job of capturing that spirit and historical atmosphere with its antique architecture and the townspeople's fashion and dialect. Not that people talk like that in Salem anymore, but having them talk like this in this episode really brings you back 250 years now.
Hurry! Round up the town selectmen for an emergency meeting!
There's a really cool shot of the gang running past a scarecrow that I absolutely adore. I also love the witch's costume and the green glow. It was really cool seeing her in various spooky settings, such as in doorways or in the cemetery. While the twin angle is a little cheap and worn out, like we've seen this so many times, and it does still seem fresh here due to the strong writing of this episode. I left a lot of the comedy out of my review, but this episode is chock full of funny goodness. There's some really funny scenes of Shaggy and Scooby going trick-or-treating, and the humor is a nice balance against the creepy backdrop of this excellent episode. If you like this episode, please hit like or subscribe, as it really helps me out. And if you'd like to request a video review for a Scooby-Doo episode, leave a comment below. Until next week, stay spooky.
She's back. She's back.
Revenge!
Come on.